guys, it's Mrs. Wood. We're at the end of our Making Connections unit. So today we're going to work on your assessment. This is a chance for me and your teachers to see what you know about making connections. So before we get started, I need you to go get your packet. You need your week 3, day 2 packet if you don't have it with you. And you need to turn to this page that says Making Connections. It has a camera on the top. So if you don't have this and something to write with right now, I need you to pause the video and go and grab these things because we're going to do this together as you watch the video today. So go ahead and grab these materials. All right, now that everyone's back, before we get started, I want to review the 3 types of connections that we have discussed. First, we talked about text-to-self connections. We said that these are connections that you make from the book to your life. The second type is text-to-text, where you relate one book to another book you've read and see how they're the same. And the third is text-to-world, where you see how something you've read in a book is the same as something that you've seen happening in the world. Yesterday, we talked about that some connections are good and help us to better understand, and some are just us thinking about what's happened. So as you take this assessment today, I want you to make sure that you are making connections that are going to help you better understand the story. So I am going to read you the book, When the Relatives Came, and as I read, you are going to pick one connection that you've had. It can be any kind of connection. It could be to self, to another text, or to world. As I'm reading, you can stop and pause it if you need to, because you are going to draw a picture up here of the type of connection you're making. So what I want you to do is draw a line down the middle, just like this. On the first side, I want you to write what happened in the book. So I'm going to write text on that side, T-E-X-T. And then over here, you're going to either write self, text, or world when you make your connection. So we need to know what kind of connection it is. Then you'll draw a picture of what happened in the text and then draw a picture over here, either what happened in your life, what happened in another book, or what happened in the world that you thought of. Then on the bottom, it says, what was the connection you made? So you're going to write, when I read, and maybe it's, if we were doing Julius, Baby of the World, when I read that Julius was born, I remembered, or I thought of, or I made the connection to, and you're going to tell me the connection you made. So maybe it's something in your life, maybe another book, or maybe in the world. You've done lots of these sheets over the last couple weeks, so you should know how to do it. The only difference is we're dividing it up here. I want you to tell me what the text says first, and then what connection you make. Remember, on the top, you're drawing a picture. On the bottom, you're writing the words. You need all of these pieces when you turn this in with a picture to Dojo. So I'm going to begin reading the book now. Remember, you can pause it at any time so that you can work on your connection. I will read the whole book today so that you can hear the whole thing. So here we go. This is The Relatives Came. The story was written by Cynthia Ryland and it was illustrated by Stephen Gamble. It was in the summer of the year when the relatives came. They came up from Virginia. They left when their grapes were nearly purple enough to pick, but not quite. They had an old station wagon that smelled like a real car, and in it they put an ice chest full of soda pop and some boxes of crackers and some bologna sandwiches. And up they came from Virginia. They left at 4 in the morning when it was still dark, before even the birds were awake. They drove all day long and into the night, and while they traveled along, they looked at the strange houses in different mountains, and they thought about their almost purple grapes back home. They thought about Virginia, but they thought about us too, waiting for them. So they drank up all their pop and ate up all their crackers and traveled up all those miles until finally they pulled into our yard. Then it was hugging time. Talk about hugging. Those relatives just passed us all around their car. pulling against their wrinkled Virginia clothes, crying sometimes. They hugged us for hours. Then it was into the house and so much laughing and shining faces and hugging in the doorways. You'd have to go through at least 4 different hugs to get from the kitchen to the front room. Those relatives. And finally, after a big supper, 2 or 3 times around until we got a turn at the table, there was quiet talk and we were in 2s and 3s through the house. The relatives weren't particular about beds, which was good since there weren't any extras. So a few squeezed in with us and the rest slept on the floor, some with their arms thrown over the closest person, or some with an arm across one person and a leg across another. It was different going to sleep with all that new breathing in the house. The relatives stayed for weeks and weeks. They helped us tend the garden and they fixed any broken things they could find. They are they ate up all our strawberries and melons, then promised we could eat up all their grapes and peaches when we came to Virginia. But none of us thought about Virginia much. We were so busy hugging and eating and breathing together. Finally, after a long time, the relatives loaded up their ice chest and headed back to Virginia at 4 in the morning. We stood there in our pajamas and waved them off in the dark. We watched the relatives disappear down the road. Then we crawled back into our beds that felt too big and too quiet. We fell asleep. And the relatives drove on all day long and into the night, and while they traveled along, they looked at the strange houses in different mountains, and they thought about their dark purple grapes waiting at home in Virginia. But they thought about us too, missing them, and they missed us. And when they were finally home in Virginia, they crawled into their silent, soft beds and dreamed about the next summer. The end. All right. So, what you're going to do again, remember, you are going to work on making one of the 3 kinds of connections. You're going to do this on your making connections sheet. Remember, on the first part, draw what happened in the book when the relatives came. And then over here, tell me what type of connection. Is it something that happened in your life? So it's self, another book, text, or something in the world. Then tell me on the bottom what your connection was. When you're finished, snap a picture of it. Make sure we can see the picture and the writing and upload it to Dojo. I'll see you guys tomorrow with a brand new reading topic. I can't wait. Bye.